Don't use a man's child against him. Don't use a man's child against him. There's a difference between when you're safeguarding your children. If the father of the child is irresponsible, if they show themselves to be negligent, if they show themselves to be a danger, then you have to do what you have to do. And you need to stick to it. You need to ensure that your child is not in danger or not putting your child in harm's way because you want to have a good relationship. There are women who will know that their child is in danger, know that the father has a habit of doing something wrong. And because they are so in love with him, they're going to do whatever they need to do. They will pass their children to the fire, so to speak, through the fire, so to speak, because they want to keep that door open. But this is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about women who are just angry because the man is not in your life. He is not with you anymore. He has moved on. We know that ideally this is not the situation that we want. We want mom and dad and child together. But sometimes choices are made with a man that you knew he was not committed to begin with. You knew he had a girlfriend. He had a situationship. You guys had a situationship, whatever it may be, but he is a good father. And if he's been a good father, your personal feelings should not get into the way of that. You refusing to let him see his children. You're using his children as pawns. He can see the child when you want, when you feel like it, or when you need to go out. When he wants to see his child, you give him a hard time. But when you want to go somewhere, you can just impromptu on the spot say, come get your child or else. That is wrong. And it's going to lead you down a very dangerous path. There's some men that will get sick and tired of you and hurt you and kill you. There are men who will do murder suicides. Because when you're playing with a child, with a man, you push him in a way, and it's a different type of hurt that can lead him to a point of no return. And at the same time, don't play the game, because maybe that man won't commit suicide or murder suicide. He'll just not have anything to do with you. Children are not pawns. They're not your toys. And God will do that. Will protect that man's heart. Why would he do that? Well, that man completely alienates you and the baby. And it's not because he wants to alienate the baby, but he's doing that to keep his mind and his sanity. There's some men, they have to wait until their child get older. They do what they need to do. They'll send finances, but they'll completely ghost you. And then what happens sometimes with these type of women? They get angry at the child. They take it out on the child. They become resentful and bitter because of the choices that they made. Don't play that game with that man. Your personal feelings has nothing to do with him being a father. If he's a good father, if he's a loving father, don't take that from him because you're angry at him. It has nothing to do with you. You can't take away the love and the attention and the relationship between your child because you're angry. So because you're mad at him, your child don't get to know her dad. Because you're angry at him, your son doesn't get to know his father. It is wicked and it is evil. He cheated on you, but did he cheat on the baby? Has nothing to do with the child. You have to understand that. Allow that man to see his child. You don't want the child to go to the father because the father is living with somebody else. Well, you have to think of the circumstances and the situation that you have placed yourself in and the choices that you made. And you just have to separate that. That's apples and oranges. If he is a good father and that child is not being hurt or harmed, you have to let that baby go and be with their father. Because sometimes the situations that we can put ourselves in as women, we're going to have to deal with that. But allow the child to have that relationship with their father. Because there's some men, they may suck as a person, but they're good dads. They're not faithful to you, but they love their children. And you have to be able to take yourself out of the equation and allow him to be a father. Allow him to be perhaps what you didn't have. Allow your child to get what perhaps you never got. Because your jealousy and your hurt and your pain should not spill over into your children, where you're making them make choices and you're telling them all these horrible things, and the man has done nothing but just break up with you. He didn't marry you. It didn't work out. And if you're a person that will use the children against him, then you have to really take a personal inventory and realize why he may have left you. Because you are not even considerate of the children. You can continue to do the things that you choose to do. You can continue to poison the minds of your children all you want to. But not only will you hurt the father, you hurt the children, and it can come around and turn back on you. Because if you sow those type of seeds, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. There come a time your son is going to grow up and he's going to be a certain way. You're going to want him to have the influence of a father, but he will not, because his father is long gone or moved on, married, got a different family, just got away from you. Because sometimes men have to do that, and you can't blame it and can't blame that man. And I don't blame any man who, for the sake of his sanity, just separates himself from you rather than cave your forehead in, think to kill you, think to do something crazy. Because when a woman is playing games with a man, those things can cross his mind. There are women who deliberately get pregnant on purpose, so from someone who's wealthy, so they can get in their pockets and be a nightmare and use the child as a pawn, and dangling the baby like a carrot in front of the father. And sometimes that man just has to completely cut those strings and cut those cords. Send you the finances and have nothing to do with you. Move away. You don't know where he is. Because you become a pestilence. Ironically, this message is for all who are listening. But ironically, there are people who say that they're Christians, who say that they're followers of God, doing this, being evil. You have no reason. Your child has never been in danger. The father has never shown himself to be negligent. If he's done something and it's a mistake and he owns up to it and he's willing to do what's right, you have no right to hold him hostage in that sense. But as I said, there are exceptions to this. He is a danger. He has shown he's irresponsible. He leaves the children in certain situations. There's been repeated incidents of where they got hurt, or they were left with people who did them harm, or negligence. You have to do what you have to do. You're a mother. You're a mother first. But there are cases where this man is not doing any of those things. You're just angry and you're bitter and you're doing all this evil stuff and you still going to church. You're doing all this evil stuff to this man and you're on somebody's praise team or choir. Or you're the pastor's aide and you're wicked and you're evil. But God is going to hold you accountable for that. Playing games with a man's child, making threats with a man's child, telling him that somebody else is going to be the father of his child is stuff that can get you killed. At the very least, leaving you all alone holding that bag. You do these things with men and play games. That man will never take a DNA test. Never claim that baby. And sometimes that's the thing, right? He will not take a DNA test. He will not sign that birth certificate. And so you're angry and you're mad and you're tormenting him. Stop doing that stuff, because you're going to end up dead, some of you. You have to think, when you're dealing with men, putting yourself out there, having unprotected sex with that man, you're not surprised with the type of man he is. There's something you got to know about him. Does he have a grove of children already? Does he have a bushel of children already? You're going to know. And sometimes you just want to be a part of that. And that's a brokenness within some women, that they'll just do it. They just want to be with him no matter what. And then it becomes too painful. Or they deliberately do some stuff and that man never claims you. He refuses to get a paternity test, and now you're hounding him and you're chasing him down and you're doing all these different things. Ladies, if you keep doing it, some of this stuff, that man will kill you. He will kill you for his wife. He's going to hurt you for his family. He's never going to claim that baby, even if the baby looks just like him. Sometimes you have to live with your choices. So make better choices. Don't allow that longing and impulse to fool you to think that, oh, I'm just going to have this baby and then it's going to be like this and then at least I'll be in his life. No, you're going to be by yourself with a formula, the diapers, trying to get childcare, doing all this stuff while he is free, just bouncing over the hills, having a good time, moving on. Because men, they'll give you the baby, but what's going to happen to them? They're still free to move around. Don't allow yourself to be in that position. And ladies, never use a man's baby against him.